As a nutritionist and a foodie, I believe food can be both delicious and nutritious. It just takes a little ingenuity in the kitchen. Today, I've created for you this chocolate Frosty. It tastes like a Wendy's Frosty, but it's good for you. So you always want to start with some kind of liquid. I've got some unsweetened coconut milk here. That works great. You could use almond milk. You could use like a pea protein milk, whatever you like. And to that, I like to add a little bit of chia seed. Chia seed is one of the reasons I became a nutritionist, because it's a very nutritious fiber, but it soaks up about 10 times its weight in water. So you want to spin it in the blender a little bit and just let it sit there for a couple minutes to just hydrate and soak up the water. And what it does is it becomes a gel, so that chia seed will soften up a little bit and be easier to blend. So I usually just kind of let that sit there while I'm putting the rest of my ingredients in my blender. If you want to add a little protein powder, this is my favorite one, Sun Warrior. You could do a half scoop to a scoop. This is vanilla. It adds a little bit of vanilla flavor. It's going to thicken it a little bit and of course give it some protein. What really gives this its flavor is the cacao. Raw cacao is what chocolate is made from, and it's the healthy part of chocolate. It has polyphenols and catechins. Dark chocolate actually thins your blood a little bit, so having a square or two of dark chocolate a day actually helps to reduce your risk of heart attack and stroke. And when you're just using the cacao, you just have the healthy part. So you could do a tablespoon or two. It just kind of depends on how dark you like your smoothie to be. So while we've got those in there, I'm just gonna on low, give it a little spin just to kind of get those incorporated. And again, we're still soaking everything up in there. The other thing I like to add to this smoothie is a half of an avocado. This helps to give it a little creaminess. It's gonna make it a little bit lighter and fluffier. And you can use those avocados that are just starting to get a little bit brown too. Those are the ones that I like to use up in my smoothies. I also put about a half of a frozen banana. And I like to freeze them when they're still a little green on the tips, because that's lower in sugar content, and it also has a little bit of resistant starch, which is good for your digestion. This is kind of an odd thing that I put in all my smoothies. A lot of people don't think about adding just a pinch of salt to their smoothies. I always use this brand Real Salt because it's unprocessed and has all the minerals. So just a shake, or you could put your fingers in there and give it a little pinch. You don't want to put too much salt because you again don't want it to be salty, but the salt brings out the flavors and the sweetness. You'll notice a big difference when you start to put just a pinch of salt in your smoothies. I also like to put, already we have some vanilla from the protein powder. I like to put just a little bit more vanilla. This is vanilla flavoring that it doesn't have alcohol in it, which I prefer in my smoothies. It just gives it a little bit more of a milder vanilla. So that's like about a half a teaspoon. And then we've got two more things we're gonna add in here. One is cashew butter. You could use almond butter, you could use sunflower butter, you could actually even just skip this. But what this does is it makes this more of a meal. It's gonna give you a little bit more protein, it's gonna give you more healthy fats. It's gonna make this stay with you a little bit longer, make it a little bit thicker. And then I've got, you might actually find this sweet enough with the bananas, but usually what I like to do is add a little bit of something called Pure, which is a erythritol stevia blend, organic stevia blend. And usually like a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon, just kind of depending on your preference. So we're gonna put this in here, we're gonna give it all a good blend. And if it's getting too thick, you can always use your little dapper tool here that just kind of helps to stir it up. And then we want to make it a little bit thicker and creamier and richer and colder. You put as much ice as you want in there to do that. And at this point, I always like to taste it to make sure that I've got enough of all the ingredients in there. That's so good. If you like it a little sweeter, you could add a little bit more Pure. If you want a little more pinch of salt, or just a smidge more vanilla. If you like it less dark chocolate, you could use a little bit less of the raw cacao. But this is your chocolate Frosty. You can see how nice and thick it is. Rich and creamy. You can eat it with a spoon or a straw, and it's delicious and nutritious. It's so good.